I told you, there are stories we tell in the day, fairy tales, and there are stories we tell at night. This story is called Through Lips of Stone. The year was 1987. I was a senior in high school, and I was living in Brooklyn. In my high school, they had a little, high school-wide, and it became a city-wide contest for coming up in your art classes, some of the best created items. I happened to make a clay dragon with wings and the mouth and the jaws, and it wound up winning best prize. So it got to be entered into the citywide competition, which was wonderful and made me feel great. What was even better was I got a day out of school because I got an actual permission slip, which gave me the opportunity to go and leave, and I got to bring my dragon, my ceramic dragon that I made, to the competition, and it was being held at St. John the Divine in the cathedral in Manhattan, Amsterdam, at about 110. So I got a day out of school. All I knew was I had to meet somebody there about 10 o'clock in the morning, and that would be fine. So I left early, obviously, because I didn't have to go to school. Went and got up to Amsterdam Avenue, took the train up, sat in a cafe, had a coffee, watched people go back and forth, sat with my dragon on the table next to me, and just relaxed. Now, when it came time to go inside, I had a hard time. For those of you who are not familiar with St. John the Divine Cathedral in Manhattan, they started building it in 1897. They haven't finished construction yet. I'm not kidding. It is always under construction. They're always adding, they're always developing. Now, there are services held there every day. It is active, it is an active cathedral, there are weddings, there are funerals, but the construction is non-stop at St. John's. So, I finally found an entrance in past all of the construction sites, because you can't go through the main doors now, apparently. Why in heaven's name would you walk into the main doors of a cathedral? But I finally found someone, and I asked around anyone who didn't appear to be praying at that moment, if they knew who was running the citywide competition, the art competition. I finally found a priest who said, oh, yes, that's Mr. Johnson, he's downstairs. I said, okay, how do you get downstairs? Is there an elevator? Where do you go? He said, oh, it's right over here. So he led me to this narrow niche. It was, no joke, this wide and this tall. And I had to walk past a velvet rope, which he then unlatched, and I got to go down into the catacombs that exist under St. John the Divine. How many of you knew that there are catacombs under St. John the Divine? I didn't know that until I was led down there. Actually, he didn't lead me down. He said, oh, go ahead. He's right downstairs. You'll find him. And it was one of these literal go around in a circle as you're slowly descending, stone steps down into the catacombs. And once you got down there, the ceilings were high and wide. This is not just a little area. It might be narrow to get down there, but it was an amazingly wide section. So it was also dark, with sporadic lighting every 50 feet. Obviously, they're trying to save money. All the construction, you know. But further up ahead, I could see there was a slightly brighter light. So I walked through the dark, up through the catacombs, till I finally found a room. And when I walked in, there was a lot of statuary all around. And I could see that there were other, more simple creations there as well. I figured I was in the right spot. And sure enough, this strange man, little man, Mr. Johnson, came out, and I said, hi, I'm here for the art show, the citywide art show, as I've got my piece here. Oh, yes, not a problem. Came in and I filled out a few documents. And I was just admiring all of the other works around me. And he said to me, have you seen some of the other pieces that are here? And I said, no, they're very interesting. One of them was a little gargoyle. Now, I happen to have gargoyles in my home. Little stone gargoyles, cute board cement ones. Some are funny, some are more entertaining. But, they're mine, I like them. He said, you realize these are not true gargoyles. He says, a true gargoyle is, whether you know it or not, this is where I got my little lesson on what is a gargoyle, what is a grotesque. A gargoyle is any stone, handmade stone face or creature that carries water away from a building. And it makes, because of the sound of the running water through the mouth, it makes like a gurgling sound, a gargoyle. So that's why all gargoyles, a true gargoyle is just something that carries the water. The others, the statues, the ones that you might see on Notre Dame with the wings and the little stunted horns, the famous with the tongue sticking out, those are just grotesques. Those are other statuaries. So this is my little history lesson and lesson on gargoyles that I really needed from this strange little man in the catacombs under St. John's. I felt much better and much safer, But he said to me, did you notice there are no gargoyles on St. John the Divine? And honestly, I hadn't even noticed. I knew there was a lot of construction, but he said there are no gargoyles. Now, every cathedral in New York has gargoyles and grotesques on them. They have statuary. They all have gargoyles, but St. John's didn't. I said, well, why is that? He said, well, during the construction phase, it was important to preserve these because, as I said, all true gargoyles must be hand-carved. I said, okay. He said, you have to carve them. They have to be made with your blood, sweat, and tears. I said, okay. He says, and they all hold a secret. I wanted to leave right then. I said, okay. I don't want to know what your secret is, but he said, it's important that you understand all of the gargoyles of St. John's are stored down here in the catacombs. He says, one day they'll be put back on the edifice. They will return, but not yet. So that's an interesting way of phrasing things, but I appreciate it. Thank you. I have to go now. So I stepped out very quickly and obviously took a wrong turn because walking in the dark of the catacombs under St. John's is not the easiest of things to do, and with the sporadic lighting, made it even better. I couldn't find the stairway back up. So I looked for the next source of light a little further out, and I wandered out over there, and I walked into another room. I was afraid I had walked into the same room because there was a lot of statuary around me. But I saw this room was empty of little weird Mr. Johnson. And in here were some of the true massive statues of St. John's. They're kept off on the side. And in front of me, I saw some of the gargoyles, the real gargoyles, the corner piece gargoyles, and grotesques that have yet to be put back on the building. So I said, all right, I'm here, I'm lost. I said, okay, do any of you gargoyles know the way upstairs? So there was no response. So I walked up to one of the gargoyles and I was just touching it, looking at it. And I said, so, do you have a secret? And it said, yes. Okay. I've seen a lot of funny things in my time. I don't spook very easily. And all I did was, I said, this is weird. I'm looking for the wires. I'm looking where the person's sitting behind because I'm not an idiot. But I said, okay, you've got a secret. I said, Do you all have secrets? There was no response. I said, can you tell me the way upstairs? He said, that's the wrong question. Now, there's no movement, it's not moving, it's not like you saw in the Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's just a hole with a voice coming out of it. So again, I'm looking for the speakers, I'm looking for the person standing behind it that's playing with me. He said, Thomas, do you really want to know my secret? It's about you. Okay, I wasn't happy anymore. I wasn't in a happy place. But I was also in the dark, confronted with a speaking gargoyle that said it knew my name and knew a secret about me. I said, all right, this is worth my effort. This is worth the money. I said, will you tell me my secret? He said, do you really want to know? I said, okay. Yes. What could you possibly know about me? He said, years ago, I used to be facing south on the walls of St. John's, and I overlooked the world. I saw people come and go. I saw parades. I saw protests. I saw weddings. I saw funerals. I saw people fighting. I saw people making love. I saw people coming. I saw people going. I saw babies born. I saw people die. I saw people grow old. I saw everything. And I waited for the right secret that I would keep. I said, what do you mean by waited for the right secret to keep? He says, any gargoyle that is a true gargoyle holds a secret. We stay in this world only because we keep that secret. And only until we tell that secret will we remain. I said, how do you know the secret about me? I haven't been up in that area in years. I'm trying to think, maybe ever? What could you possibly know that would involve me from your perch? He said, I saw a boy. I saw a group of boys and girls led by a woman. She was trying to keep all of the boys and girls together as they were walking down the street. And each of the boys and girls would run up to the stores and say, I want that toy, 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 and then run on to the next store. And then go to the next one and say, I want that toy, 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 and then run on to the next one. He said, while they were walking, one little boy ran further ahead and stopped and went to one of the drugstores and saw the toys in the window and said, I want that one, 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 and waited and went through each and every toy, indicating each and every toy that was displayed, saying he wanted that one. And when he turned around, everyone else was gone. The rest of his family and the woman with them had disappeared. They had kept walking. They didn't realize he was still there counting toys. He said the boy sat down and he cried. He cried because he was alone. He cried because he was alone and lost in a strange place. I knew the story. I knew it well. He said eventually a woman came over with her 2 young children. And she sat down with him and she said, why are you crying, little boy? And he cried and says, I'm lost. She said, well, where is your mommy and daddy? He said, I don't know, they're home. She said, well, what are you doing here? He said, we were going to the zoo, the Central Park Zoo. And I stopped and I was looking at all the toys and they kept going. So she sat and she petted him. And she said, don't cry. She said, what's your mommy's name? He said, Mommy. She said, do you know your phone number? He said, no. So she sat with him and she held his hand. And he saw the other two children of hers in front of him. And they were looking at him very sadly. And he knew it was because they felt bad for him. Then, as he sat there, a woman came with a whole group of children in tow and reclaimed him and took him off to go to the Central Park Zoo, where he went and had a wonderful time, shed his tears done, had a balloon tied around his wrist, carried it all the way back home to Brooklyn, where he was with his family, and he never saw that woman and her children again. I said, I know this story. The gargoyle said to me, no, you don't. He said, the woman was Mary Beth Tinning, which meant nothing to me. He said, those were her two children. She was down taking them on a visit to New York City before she went back up and went home. She killed her children. She killed all 9 of her children over the course of time and is currently incarcerated in New York. You are going to be number 10. I said, that I didn't know. He said, you were going to be number 10 for her, except someone intervened and someone changed that from happening. And someone sent your aunt, your brother, and your cousins back to reclaim you. I said, who? He said, that's not my secret. He said, I told you my secret. And he proceeded to crumble in front of me. I ran. I ran at that point, and I got the hell out of there because A, I was freaked out. B, I didn't want anyone to say that I had just destroyed property of St. John's. And I had no idea how I was going to explain to someone that I just had a gargoyle talk to me, tell me a secret, tell me that someone did something otherworldly to save my life from a serial killer, but they couldn't tell me what had happened, and then the gargoyle fell apart in front of me. I wasn't about to put that up. I wasn't about to put myself in that position. So I turned around and I got my butt back to Brooklyn. I didn't go back to school, but I went home. But I'll tell you, I appreciated spending that little extra time with my family. But it got me thinking. If all gargoyles, all true gargoyles, have a secret, which one's going to be about you? Thank you. I have a poem I'm going to read for you. This poem is partially derived on the story, and the story is partially derived on the poem. So, this one is called Lips of Stone. They speak to me through lips of stone, in voices that are not my own, sharing secrets, telling tales, all through the night till moonlight fails. Then in the dark I'll search to find whatever thoughts are left behind, whatever truths I'll now believe, as told by those who won't deceive. The child who's been left all alone and hears them speak through lips of stone.